Well. Wow, that's the best reception I've ever received. My wife's still mad about that Oprah scene right there. She don't mind shaking hands, all that kissing stuff. She's not down with that. So, yes, I've lived a charmed life in some respects. As an educator, I've been in education now. This is my 50th year in education. And I know some of y'all are like, man, that guy is really old. Yeah, I am. And, I've had this sort of incredible set of opportunities. President Obama naming promised neighborhoods based on our work. Paul Tuff wrote his book, Whatever It Takes, Waiting for Superman, a documentary. Been on 60 Minutes twice, Oprah about 4 or 5 times. All that's good, but none of that is as important as this one honor I received. Some years ago, Fortune magazine listed me as the 12th most influential person in the world. No, but that wasn't what impressed me. I went and got a stack of those magazines, right? And I took them home to my wife. I've been trying to impress this black woman for 30 years. 30. I got the bag out there, honey, go and turn to page 22. She's flipping through. She gets out of the door, she gets there, and she says, oh, couldn't make the top 10, huh? I said, all right, it's all good. I had 2 powerful requests this week, which sort of ate up my whole week. And I've not been away from home this many days in a row, probably in 10 years. Both requests I could not refuse. The first request came from the Prime Minister of Barbados, who asked if I would bring a team there to try and help them with some of the issues they were dealing with. How can you say no, right? So I had to do it. Second request came from Taylor, right? How can you say no, right? So this is what you all have to know. I was just saying to Taylor, this is what you all have to know about me. So I was here coming to Dallas for a reason, and part of it was, I heard about this 4 Oak Cliffs, but I wanted to see if it was real, right? I go a lot of places, people talk a lot of stuff, then you go and see, and you're like, yeah, I saw 6 kids. Like, that's not real. So I told my team, we just going to show up. Right to 4 Oak Cliffs. We just rolled right in there, right? Taylor was on the court. Brother can ball a little bit. I was like, okay. But that facility was filled with our children. They were safe. They were happy. Somebody cared about them. You know how you walk in some places and you can just feel it? You'd be like, yeah, if I lived here, this is where I would be. Some place that's engaging, there's education all over, everywhere you want to look. But more importantly, there's a role model that's standing up and saying, I'm here to make sure that you all have a pathway to a good life. That's so rare to find that in our toughest communities. When no one knew my name, Marion Wright Edelman had come to visit Harlem and said, you're doing something. I want the country to know about it. I'm here because Taylor, Xavier, the team here, they're doing something. I want the country to know about it. This is look, I've got dual connections here. You know, I have Olga and Bachman Lake. I got love. I got love for, the folks at Jubilee, at Bachman Lake. So there's something going on in Dallas, right? But the first person I met coming here was Taylor. And I saw the work that was going on. And that was years ago. Things for our children have gotten worse. You know, I told you I've been in this business 50 years. I've been through tough times. I started my career in Boston when they were going through busing, and it was the most racially divided city I'd ever been in. People wouldn't even have a clue. And that's how I started. That's how I started teaching. I went through the crack epidemic, hit us in the late 80s, early 90s, and schools were just like, I was losing kids every other week. Through the housing crash, where so much of our community lost all of their sort of equity in their homes, and tech bubble bursting. Never seen a situation that our kids are facing like this after COVID. Do you all know what toxic stress is? You know what that is? That's stress that you can't get rid of, right? So when you have stress happens to your body, you get all these chemicals. You know that fight or flight thing, right? You can feel it. It's just like, oh, either I'm running or I'm fighting. You get traumatized. Minutes, hours, years of being 11, worried about your grandparents dying, hearing ambulances, not able to go to school, knowing something is out there that can get you. You can't see it, you can't taste it. That young people went through this. And look, I don't know, but I'm still traumatized. My wife wake up in the middle of the night and start coughing. I'm like, honey, you good? We all right? I mean, that doesn't leave you. And now that we're not wearing masks, no one's worried anymore. This is now just like a thing, like the flu and other. Everybody wants to go back to normal. You know whose life is not normal? All of our children. Never in the history of our country has this ever happened before. And somebody's got to step up. Somebody's got to step up and say, no, not on my watch. We're not going to have this. Things weren't going good before. Can I just say that? Before COVID, things weren't going good for our kids. Now things are 3 times harder. Is anybody working 3 times harder? Some of us are. But I'm not sure people actually understand the scale. See, it's one thing when something happens to second graders, something happens in the high school, something happened to all of our children at the same time. So I'm on a mission, try and figure out who's serious about this work. Who's prepared? Paul Tuff's book was called Whatever It Takes. That's because we're going to do whatever it takes. And sometimes it takes fighting the good fight. And this is time for us to fight the good fight. Your children, I know we have some funders in here, but there was a time when we would have thought that you could intervene, do some repair, and then these young people were going to be fine. Not with toxic stress. PTSD, y'all know, right? We first found out about that after, y'all don't know anything about this, after the Vietnam War, soldiers were coming back, right? And something was wrong with them. They were doing things. We were like, well, why did they suddenly snap? Why are all these folks on drugs? What's going on? then folks realize you were in war, and the after effects of that never leaves you. It infects your body and your mind. So we began to try and treat our soldiers because after all, you're on the front lines. But here's the difference in our communities. See, you're in the front lines, you're at war, and then they take you off the front lines, and they take you out of danger. What if the war is outside your door? What if you can't get off the front lines? What if you spent every day on the front lines of a war where you are scared, you feel alone, you're frightened, and you think no one is there to protect me? Well, that trauma gets inside your body. It has an impact on you. You know what the science is teaching us? It actually changes the physical makeup of your body. That when that happens to you, you can pass that trauma off to your children through something called epigenetics. This has happened to our whole population, all the kids, all over the country. But it didn't happen equally. The poorer you are, the less defense you had against this trauma, the less help you got to recover from the trauma. I've been worried about the impact of violence in communities, and it would always shock me every time we saw a school shooting in a middle-class community. The next day, they would flood that community with social workers. I know kids every day, they're hearing gunshots. I get in a room full of kids like this, and I say, how many of you know someone who's been shot? All the hands go up. No counselors, no counseling, no nothing. See, at least if some tragedy happens and they send in the counselors, you know this is not expected. Something aberrant has happened, and now they're trying to heal me. What happens if you have trauma and nobody acts any different? Well, this is normal. We're expected to live like this. No more. No more. That's why as soon as I looked at that facility, I said, here's a place that can help our kids begin to heal from the trauma of their lives. And this had nothing to do with Oak Cliffs, about that. This is happening all over the country. And few places have the kind of leadership and infrastructure here that Four Oak Cliffs has. So I flew in. I'm going to jump right back on a plane, fly back home. So I will be with you probably for an hour and a half, 2 hours. So what would be so important that you would come in and spend your whole day so I could speak with you all for half an hour? Because something important is happening here, right here. Something's important. And because I believe that we can't afford to lose even one child. Honestly believe that. You don't know what that child is going to end up doing with their life. And so I'm a big believer, everybody knows I say you can save all kids. But I had this one kid in the Harlem Children's Zone. I have to admit, I think I could save the other 999,000, but this one right here, he's a Harlem boy. He was in the gang, so the other gang was going to kill him. So we were like, okay, so you can't go over here. His own gang then turned. I was like, how you in a gang? Your own gang gonna kill you. His mama put that boy out, so now not only are they looking for him on the streets, but he have no home. So, you heard of those wilderness camps, right? You know, they way out in the middle of nowhere, right? They send the kids and you have to backpack your food and you go off in the woods, you got to make the fire and everything. So I called, I said, look, I got one. He said, Jeff, we work with the toughest kids in America. Send them down. Send them down on Monday. They send them back on Wednesday. I'm just being real, all right? So now, and so what I say to the team, they're like, what are you going to do with it? I said, look, sometimes you can plan for kids' future and you can look out years. Say, yeah, I'm trying to get you to come. Sometimes you're just trying to get that kid to keep her alive till the next day. Can I get you through till the weekend? There's some way. So this is what we were doing. And he was hanging on by his fingernails. And then he just dropped off the radar screen. So whenever that happens, I'm wondering, did he do something and he had to leave town? Did maybe he got arrested? We didn't know about it. 2 years later, I'm in my office. And reception said, Mr. Cannon, somebody wants to see you. You know, one of your kids, okay, bring him in. There he is. He says, I know, Mr. Canada, you told me that my only hope was to go to college and get off them streets. He says, I'm finishing my second year, and I just wanted you to know I listened to you. Even kids that look like there's no way out. If there's a place where they can go to, where someone will say, no, there's an answer, this is what look, Olga Taylor, I'm going to tell y'all, sometimes you don't think they're listening to you. Because last thing I know, this kid was telling me, I ain't hearing this, I'm sick of this thing. I'm like, okay. He said, I remember what you told me, and I did it. Saved his life. So, in our business, we can't play God. We can't look at this one and say, you, I think, I can save, but I'm not so sure about you over here, right? That's not the business we're in. Look, I'm not interested in saving all the kids in the world. That's not my expertise. My expertise is saving kids everybody else gave up on. I want to go places that have failed our children for decades and say to them, no, there's nothing wrong with these kids. There's something wrong with the world we've created for them, and they are simply reacting to what we have done to these young people. So, and this works not for everybody. I know folk who think that, in the end, I'm going to go in and I'm going to march in the 4 Cliffs and you better know where you going, all right? Sometimes you don't know what happens, right? So I'll give you an example. So now, I first started Promise Academy. We're struggling with behavior. And all the kids know I'm like the drill sergeant, right? You know hats. You better pull those pants up. Better not be hearing them, right? I'm walking around. So I'm kind of like quality control. Wherever I go, they may not be doing it, but when they see me, they're going to start doing it because they know what's supposed to be done. So I'm there. And this little boy, I can hear him all the way down the hall cursing out his teacher. And the little boy ain't but about 9, right? And I come over, and all the kids are like, ooh, here come Mr. Canada. And everybody's like waiting, because here's the moment. And I come up to that boy, and he looks at me, and he says, I don't give a fuck about Mr. Canada. When he said that, all the other kids stepped back. They knew like a lightning bolt was going to come down. No one ever cursed Mr. Canada, right? So When he said that, I was shocked. So what did that little boy say? So I leaned over to him. I said, yeah, we're going to see what you say when I'm at your house tonight talking to your mama. So he looked, and he said, shoot, I live in the projects. I was like, what, I care? So 5 o'clock, I'm going to the projects. I went in strong till I turned that corner. I saw that pit bull running around. So, I don't know about this. I saw the crew over here who keeps an eye. Because, it's one of those projects you have to go into it. It's not like on the street. You got to turn into the courtyard, right? So now I realize, I'm the only one here that looked like we had on a jacket and tie in quite a while. And everybody's noticing me. Now, the big thing, you go into a place like that, you got to act like you know where you're going, right? So I just marched. I went to the wrong place. Oh, I turn around. Go back. Now they're really looking at me because they're like, are you a Fed, right? What are you doing here, right? So I get there. Of course, the elevator don't work. I got to go walk up the flights. I knocked on that door. That boy answered that door. He black boy. That boy turned as white as a ghost. I said, yeah, I told you, son. So I walk into the apartment. It hits me. No curtains, a sheet tacked over the window. No table, couple of milk cartons, and a door as the table. Mattresses on the floor. I come in, I say, hi, I'm Mr. Canada. I'm the president of the Promise Academy. She said, what the fuck did he do now? When he said that, when she said that, that little boy, he was so embarrassed. How could you say that to the leader of my school and you're the parent? And then I understood. I said, okay, I see why you feel like you can say something like that. Because you're living in a house where your mother thinks it's okay to address me like that. And sometimes you can listen to our children and jump to a conclusion about who they are and why they're like that. Anybody else would have wanted to kick that kid out of school. I told him, I got you, son. I understand. Now, we ain't going to be doing that cursing thing, but I understand how you growing up and the fact that no one's ever come to see how you're living. Being involved, you have to be all in. If you're going to help these, you got to be all in. That kid's in college, doing fine. You don't know who you're going to save when you do this work. So, when I first took over as the CEO, my boss, who then became the commissioner for youth services in New York City under Mayor Dinkins, the first African-American mayor, he was a very powerful man. He was a white man. He had all the contacts, and he was so powerful he didn't have to be nice to people, right? You know people that powerful? They don't even have to be nice. So people couldn't get him, but when he left, they were like, yeah, I can't get him, but I can get you. And they took their revenge. They cut about a third of my budget. As soon as I took over, I was taking the business. We were going out of business. They were cutting money. So I had to get some money. So I got invited to this foundation in Baltimore. So I was there. I was focused. And as I went in, this black woman says to me, she says, Mr. Canada, look, I know you don't know me, and I know this is not what you do. But I just want to know, could you help my son? She said, he's 14. He's already been in handcuffs. Saw his father die. And I'm afraid this one I'm going to lose to the streets. So I said, yeah, bring him in. So you brought in the kid, and I did my angry black man thing on him, right? You got a single mother out here working for you every day. Who put those sneakers on your feet? Why you think, who got your hair cut? And you got the nerve to go out there acting like a jerk? What kind of man are you going to be? I'm going off. So, go 30, 35 years later, he's now the governor of Maryland. So I've known Wes Moore since he was a kid. You think I knew he was going to be somebody? He was just another knucklehead kid messing up on the streets. You don't know who you're saving when you save one of these kids. You can't predict their life. There's no way. You might have the next president of the United States that you just don't even stop to take the time to just say, yes, son, I'm here. Yes, sister, I'm here. I will help you. Deep in the hood, who can our kids count on? Who can they look up to? Who can ensure that they get every benefit of the doubt? Well, there are not a lot of places I can go in this country and say, yeah, I know who they can go to. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. Spend this half hour. Say, yes, we need these models. And we need them to be sustained. And here's the problem in this business. And I know it at Bachman Lake, and I certainly know it at Four Oak Cliffs. The people doing the toughest work often get the least amount of support. I don't know what that's about, all right? I don't know what that's about, but this is where I was blessed. I had a partner in this work, a man named Stan Druckenmiller, very wealthy guy. He backed me. He backed me through the worst economic times, tech crash, he backed me. Housing crash, he backed me. Let me tell you what that meant. Yes, when we started out, we only had a couple of kids in college. Today, we've got close to 1,000 kids in college. We've graduated over 2,000 kids with degrees. The reason is I have never had to back up or change my plan for lack of funding. Never. In 20 years, I've been able to provide the best support because whether the economy was going up or going down, whether the mayor liked me or didn't like me, whether the governor cared or didn't care, I was serving my kids in Harlem, high quality, every day. That's what it takes to get this job done. So part of the challenge, if you're doing this work, we start with kids at birth. We stay with them. We tell them, you stay with us. We will get that 1-year-old through elementary, middle, high school. We're going to get that kid into college, and I'm going to get them through college. You can't make that promise if 5 years from now we're going to be out of business. You know what? My parents didn't believe me at first. They didn't. Who would believe that? You're going to tell me the kid is 2. You're going to tell me when this kid is 18, you're going to still be here? Yes. Yeah, sure. Heard that before. So we'll have graduation in a week. Kids will come in, all in their cap and gowns, 100% going to college. This is multiple years. This is going on. And sure enough, parents will want to take pictures. I stay to take pictures. And they'll come in and they'll be like, do you remember her from baby college? Of course I do. Of course I don't. How could I mean, come on. She was 2. I mean, how could I know? But this is the word in my community. When they tell you they're going to be there for your kids for 20 years, they're going to be there because they've been there. This is what's happening right now in Oak Cliffs. Promises to be made, promises to be kept. And I'm going to tell you, they didn't all believe me the first 5 years. They know. You know, even after time, they were like, yeah, but you know, this thing's too good to be true. Yeah. they walk across that stage, yeah, they begin to find out. And here's what happens. Everywhere we go, we run into our kids. It's just, when you've got 2,000 kids out there with degrees, I mean, you just run into them. I was finishing up something for history makers. And they try and get, people sort of chronicle their life before they're gone. I kind of know that's part of the deal. It's all good. But the guy is like, so if you go on history makers, if you read the captions, they got pictures. Oh, it's a Harlem Children's Zone kid that does that. Kwame he's our CEO. He was trying to get one of those real licenses. Y'all got your real licenses? It's so hard to get them in New York. The lines are so long. And they were giving him a hard time. The person next to him was one of our students who graduated from college, works at the DMV. When she asked him, aren't you Kwame Watakesi from the Harlem Children's Zone? The person that was giving him the hard time said, my son goes there. Can you see whether he really had the day off today or was he? Here's the thing I want you all to understand. The first generation is hard, right? Because these kids, they had nothing, they had no one. Of course, you're trying to make up for all of the failures in education and the communities around them. So, yes, you're going to have to lean in hard for that first generation. But guess what happens? That next generation. Boy, once those kids have degrees, they have their own children, it ain't hard no more. People think this is about this child. This is about generations of children which we've never had in our community. That you can fix this, and then for generations you can just watch these children have children, and their children will have children, and they won't go backwards. So this is generational work. And folks keep thinking somehow in a year or two you're going to get no. This is a generation. But when you fix it, it stays fixed. That's why when people say we've ended generational poverty in Harlem, oh, yes, we have. Oh, yes, we have. When you get those kids with their degrees and they end up getting these jobs, you have changed not only the life for them, but the life for their children and for their grandchildren. That's what this work is about. And don't get caught up. Don't get caught up in the moment. Don't get caught up in the moment. This is about generational change. It doesn't happen overnight. Look, we didn't get here in the conditions we're in overnight. All right? Y'all all know what this is about, Juneteenth. Right? Look, my last name, Canada, we thought it was because we were trying to get to Canada and didn't make it, ended up in the Bronx. Probably couldn't tell directions or something. Nope. When Skip Gates, he does that Find Your Roots. So he did a show on my family, did me and Barbara Walters. Don't ask me why we're on the same show. No, they were the slave owners who owned my family. And this is what people don't get. I spoke with a person who has mother was a slave. That's how recent all of this happened. My great-grandmother, I didn't, until Skip did the genealogy, my great-grandmother told me her grandmother was a slave. That's because her mother was born 2 years after the end of slavery, so her mother didn't remember being a slave. But her mother was a slave. That's how quick this happened. I actually spoke to someone whose mother was a slave. We've been trying to rebuild the infrastructure in our community since then. It's not easy. It's complicated. It takes time. But first you have to have the desire to go where it's really needed, stand up for our kids, and say, I don't care if you blame anybody else for whatever, but you're not going to be able to blame me. I'm going to make sure this thing is a success. So I am thrilled to be here. I'm sorry I can't spend more time, but I'm a happily married man, and my wife is not happy. I told her about you. I told her how important you was to me. She wasn't that impressed. She was like, you left me here with this great big German shepherd I got to go take care of, and I'm heading back. But I want to close my talk with a poem, which is called "Don't Blame Me." This is about accountability. It's about whether or not we're going to simply look at what's happening and say, oh, isn't this terrible? Or we're going to stand up and say, we're going to do something about it. So let me close with "Don't Blame Me." The girl's mother said, don't blame me. Her father left when she was 3. I know she don't know her ABCs, her 1, 2, 3s, but I am poor and work hard, you see. You know the story, it's don't blame me. The teacher shook her head and said, don't blame me. I know it's sad. He's 10, but if the truth be told, he reads like he was 6 years old. And math, don't ask. It's bad, you see. Wish I could do more, but it's after 3. Blame the mom, blame society, blame the system, just don't blame me. The judge was angry, his expression cold. He scowled and said, son, you've been told, break the law again and you'll do time. You've robbed with a gun? Have you lost your mind? The young man opened his mouth to beg, hold your breath, the judge said instead. Your daddy left when you were 2, your mama didn't take care of you. Your school prepared you for this fall, can't read, can't write, can't spell at all. But you did the time for all to see. You're going to jail, son. Don't blame me. If there is a God or a person supreme, a final reckoning for the kind and the mean, and judgment is rendered on who passed the buck, who blamed the victim, or who proudly stood up. You'll say to the world, while I couldn't save all, I did not let these children fall. By the thousands I helped all I could see. No excuses, I took full responsibility. No matter if they were black or white, were cursed, ignored, were wrong or right, were shunned, prejudged, were short or tall, I did my best to save them all. And then I will bear witness for eternity that you can state proudly, don't blame me. Thank you all very much. God bless you.